the Story of Film series. This new series is awesome. So full of good recommends and just an entertaining analysis and watch in itself. Full of beautiful visual parts of movies. Almost done with my third read of this, my March read. I know it's April, but stuff got away. I'll have to read it again by the end of the month. I've also been reading essays about it like crazy with my 100 free articles on JSTOR. There's such a huge database of writing about the secret share. I've read 3 articles on it recently, essays. I'll get back to the nonfiction case soon. But, let's grab. Take that. Right now I want to finish this new single author shelf. Victor Bryson, McPhee, Thoreau, and Cecil Adams' straight dope books. Cecil Adams is at times the writer Ed Zoddy, and at times a committee of people. But the last author that made it onto the shelf is Howard Zinn. Okay, this would be a good one to... this would be funny if I tried to review this apolitically. So this looks cool. What is this? Voices of a People's History. Oh, this is an oral history, or what is it? It is told here in speeches, letters, poems, and songs. Okay, so it's like an anthology, like documents. That's cool. So in that way, it's kind of a companion volume to A People's History of the United States. It's a pretty cool cover. As y'all know, I love it when a wraparound continues all the way to the back, but I get it. I understand you can't always do that because you have like a cool horizontal photograph you want to put on the cover somehow. But looks like one he co-wrote, and it's the 10th anniversary, 3rd edition. Gut-wrenching. Great quote, John Stewart. Oh, look at that. Original documents from Columbus. Early slavery. Wow. Revolution. Women's movement. Whoa. Native Americans. Mexico. Slavery. Socialists and wobblies. Cool. Protesting the First World War. Well, this looks good. I'll do a Zinn binge someday. Here's one I've read from him. I may have read this twice. This was like a must-read for a long time. There was a window in the early 2000s where you couldn't call yourself a left-leaning hipster without having read this book. And honestly, that's because it's so good that everyone should read it. Historians may well view it as a step toward a coherent new version of American history. It's great. It feels like a corrective. This book pairs well with the book Lies My Teacher Told Me. I think there's still room for some form of like patriotism. I'm not patriotic to like the government. I'm patriotic to a continent that I love, I guess. And some of the general ideas are. But this is a really fascinating, eye-opening book. And definitely his most famous. Here's like a nice little book. This is such a horrifying cover to me because that's like a real bombing. Hopefully a test. It looks like some empty desert there. But, no, maybe not. There's a lot of structures down there in that lower left corner. But that's pretty good book design. Hey, that's a cool way to like, it's a wraparound, but it's not. The spine is separate. It kind of works. 7 Stories Press. It's a nice looking little book. Maybe I could write a book for them if they're still around. Ooh, maybe I could write Who Owns Albuquerque for them. Maybe I would make it a little book like this. That would make it more likely for me to write it. Just knock it out. Essayistic. Do the research afterward. During a subsequent edit, throw some asterisks in there and then go back and double check things and add to, be more specific. Who Owns Albuquerque is a book I've wanted to write for a long time. It would be my like City of Quartz for Albuquerque. But that's why I wanted to make it not slim. I wanted it to have as significant a page count as City of Quartz. To think as deeply about my city. Now this looks kind of interesting. The politics of history. I like books about this. There's a word for it, I think. Historiography. The study of history. Like, academia is crazy. Truly is a pretzel at times. Mega meta. Zinn. Howard Zinn is Professor Emeritus of Political Science at Boston University. He's the author of 10 books, among them A People's History of the United States and LaGuardia in Congress, a winner of the Beveridge Award. I know that's not how beverage is spelled, but I briefly imagined it being turned into a Howard Zinn-themed soda. Hey, Jones Soda shows that labels can have a lot of identities. Different photo on every bottle. It would be kind of funny to have like an academically, literarily branded soda or product or something like that. Every can has like facts about reading and like a cool picture of an author. People would collect them. Not a bad idea. Anyone out there rich and want to bankroll this? Let's do a literary themed soda company. Look at Squirrel. She's almost contemptuous of Zinn's work. Squirrel, spit it out. What's going on? You're grooming yourself noisily next to the books. You don't approve or something? She kind of has to always be grooving. She has such long hair. And then this is like a power to the people type book. Howard Zinn, a power governments cannot suppress. He seems to be some kind of like old school socialist. That's the vibe that I get from him. Like early 1900s American style. Like, who's that one guy? Eugene Debs, that was the name I was looking for. That's the kind. Well, we'll get to that. That's coming up in the nonfiction section. World War I, anti-war. Got arrested for it. Went to jail for it. Prison. Ran as a socialist candidate and did really well. But I like Howard Zinn. I know I've got other writings from him somewhere in this house, apartment. 3, 4, 5. But you know, I don't need to have everything the guy's written if I haven't even read most of these. You know? Maybe, kind of paradoxically, having a book collection is a lesson against materialism in a way. So you think about what you don't need to own also. Like, when you start collecting something, the completist urge is really strong. And it's like, do I really have to have all these? I think the collection's getting more interesting as it's getting more refined. But I'm definitely noticing absences. I feel like there's wounds in every section. Places where books should be. I'm like, how do I not have this House of Sky and memoir? I got to get those Mark Twain autobiographies again. I realize they're awesome. I should have Salvation on Sand Mountain in the weird books about snake handling churches. There's a variety of novels I'm noticing. I wish I hadn't gotten rid of this hardback Dr. Zhivago. Dang it. Anyway, Howard Zinn. He's cool. If people read Howard Zinn, they tend to be pretty well educated and be interesting, thoughtful people. You know, it's a big investment to read one of his books. It's a huge, expansive work. But as the narrator says in a story of film, The New Generation, of Beyonce's Lemonade movie, hard not to be overwhelmed when you cast a net so wide. I want to write a book with that principle. That's maximalism. I think the book I'm working on is that. But Zinn's great. I mean, honestly, the balance of art and politics is a tricky one because, like, you can make your work less accessible and more easily dated if you are political in it. But if you don't have a sense of justice, then, like, what's your voice even, you know? I don't think you have a voice I want to follow if you don't have a sense of justice. And so inevitably, sometimes that's going to get political. And that's when you got to be like, no, actually, like, Nazis are bad. It's bad to be in a race-hating, violent group. It's just bad. Let's go. My daughter had this, who's 11, had this amazing business fair today at her school where all the students were invited to make their own little businesses and like sell things at tables and so on. And Willow made a petting zoo / adoption agency for animals. And she like got people who had animals to come and paid them to bring their animals, like baby goats and a hedgehog and 2 dogs and 2 adult cats and 3 kittens. And so many people were paying just to pet these animals, and it was amazing. She made a killing, and she was voted at the end best business most like a real business and likely to become a real business. And even there, this teacher from a preschool came up and said, "Could I pay you to bring your petting zoo adoption agency to my preschool for an event?" Willow was like, "Okay." So that kid's meeting with success. Willow. She's got other exciting stuff going on too. There's so many good Billy Bragg lyrics. Mixing pop and politics. She asks me what the use is. I offer her embarrassment and my usual excuses. And these don't really mix pop and politics. They're just purely political, but they have been embraced by like the campus left of the world, which I think is a pretty cool freaking crowd, having had many jolly conversations with them and learned a lot. Academia can be its own little weird insular world, freaking out about things that nobody else is freaking out about. But it can also just be one place where people are thinking about things, and that's rare in this world. Everyone should read Stoner. That book is so good, by John Williams. Excellent account of academic life, being a professor over many decades. Shows you the value of that kind of job and of just doing any job too. Like, and it shows like the appeal of that kind of a world. Like, he doesn't go to war twice, because of he believes there's other ways to serve existence, and one of them is teaching. I'm like, I think that's kind of beautiful. But yeah, Howard Zinn. I'm going to be in the mood to read this again sometime. Kind of am right now, just looking at it. And then I'm like, well, what about these other ones? Like, if you read these, you'd be sharper. These would sharpen any reader. You would have more information, knowledge, maybe a closer. I think this view of it all. Let's do a collage biography. Howard Zinn is Professor Emeritus at Boston University. He is the author of The Classical People's History of the United States, a brilliant moving history of the American people from the point of view of those whose plight has been largely omitted from most histories. Library Journal. A television adaptation of A People's History of the United States is currently being co-produced by Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and Chris Moore for HBO. I wonder if that came out. I think it did. There are some movies related to this. Zinn has received the Lannan Foundation Literary Award for Nonfiction. That's out of Santa Fe. And the Eugene V. Debs Award for his writing and political activism. Hey, Eugene Debs. Zinn is the author of numerous books, including The Zinn Reader, the autobiographical You Can't Be Neutral on a Moving Train, and the play Marx in Soho. Oh, he wrote a play? That's crazy. Zinn grew up in Brooklyn and worked in the shipyards before serving as an Air Force bombardier in World War II. Zinn was chair of the history department at Spelman College, where he actively participated in the civil rights movement before taking a position at Boston University. He now lives with his wife, Rosalind, in Massachusetts and lectures widely on history and contemporary politics. It is always kind of weird when you realize that authors generally write these themselves. It kind of adds a weird element to it. Maybe he didn't, but... Howard Zinn grew up in the immigrant slums of Brooklyn, where he worked in shipyards in his late teens. He saw combat duty as a U.S. Air Force bombardier in World War II. Afterward, he received his doctorate in history from Columbia University and was a postdoctoral fellow in East Asian Studies at Harvard University. His first book, LaGuardia in Congress, was an Albert Beveridge Prize winner. He is the author of numerous books, including his epic masterpiece, A People's History of the United States, a brilliant and moving history of the American people from the point of view of those who have been exploited politically and economically, and whose plight has been largely omitted from most histories. Library Journal. Professor Emeritus of Political Science at Boston University. Zinn lives with his wife, Rosalind, in the Boston area near their children and grandchildren. Howard Zinn is Professor Emeritus of Political Science at Boston University. He is the author of 10 books, among them A People's History of the United States and LaGuardia in Congress, a winner of the Beveridge Award. Howard Zinn is a historian, playwright, and social activist. He lives with his wife, painter Rosalind Zinn, in Auburndale, Massachusetts. We've got a photo with that one. Historian and activist Howard Zinn's visionary telling of our history is widely considered one of the most important and influential of our era. In A People's History of the United States, A Young People's History of the United States, Voices of a People's History of the United States, and in Spanish, La Otra Historia de los Estados Unidos. Zinn affirms the power of the people to influence the course of events. Zinn's many other books include The Zinn Reader, Terrorism and War with Anthony Arnaud, the autobiographical You Can't Be Neutral on a Moving Train, and the play Marx in Soho. I actually do feel like I have a clearer picture of him now. Howard Zinn, you're my new best friend. It's sad because it's actually true. I think he died recently-ish, right? I remember that. He was very honored, even by networks and stations that are exactly what he was against his whole life. Actually, I doubt everybody honored him. He was probably called lefty scum or whatever on certain stations. Anyway, my phone's about to die. I guess I could plug it in. Okay, and next, because I missed a couple of days of making videos, and I really wanted this channel to be an everyday thing. Because I know it's weird maybe, but push past natural stopping points is like a major writing tool for me. I find very interesting things happen when you just keep going. That's why I always get mad at TV shows for being like 3 seasons. I'm like, you haven't even begun to explore your world yet. Why build this up and invest this if you're not going to get serious about it? I also think there's a sub trend within that in modern times to rush what should be seasons 4 and 5 into just season 4. I'm like, where are y'all going? Why are you so restless to do something else? You just built this. Sometimes people are worried about cancellation or whatever. Anyway, all right, I'll look at this shelf next. That's it for this video.